Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. Today I have Heidi Anspaugh, right?
I pronounce it on spa, but
You
yeah,
spell it Anspaugh, and
yeah.
I spell mine Anspach. So here's the thing, people. You know, I brought Heidi on because somewhere along the line, we're distant relatives. We didn't know that. Somewhere along the line, our DNA is shared.
Yeah.
But Heidi, I'm bringing on because the fact is she's a brilliant copywriter. Now, I've interviewed other copywriters and I've helped other copywriters, but I want you guys to pay attention because, you know, she's relatively newer in the field over the last couple of years. But some of the things that she's doing is different than what other copywriters might be doing. So, by paying attention to Heidi, and you might want to give her a call at the end of this at the end of this interview because she might be able to help you. So, welcome, Heidi, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. That was a great intro. I would love to hear what I'm doing that's different because I don't know that I even know that.
And see, I look at everybody at what they're doing,
Yeah,
and the
that's
reason
good.
I reach out to a lot of people is because I think that you're doing something unique that some other people aren't doing. Whereas
Awesome.
you're telling people, hey, you know, you need help with your email marketing, and this is the copy that I think you should use to make it pop. And people are like, yeah, but email, that's like 20 years ago. Are people still using email? Yes, they are. And this is how you can, you know,
True.
optimize those emails to really get them to work better. Um, you know,
People are using them now more than ever,
yeah.
actually.
And we have been so, I think, ingrained in social media that sometimes we forget that there's other marketing methods out there.
That's
And
right.
we forget about the email and the texting and the actual letters that you pop in the mail, you know? But people are like, well, I'll just put it on social media. Okay, well, you're limited in scope with what you can do on social media. You can't always, bold the headline and get them to keep reading because, you start reading something on social media and then somebody posts something and your feed goes down and
You lose it.
you lose it. Yeah. So tell us about how you got into copywriting and why emails.
Sure. I mean, email is only part of what I do. I'd say I probably spend more time writing sales funnel copy.
Hmm.
And it's because of funnels that I got into copywriting. I mean, I had kind of danced around it in the past. Like 2004 to 2006, I actually took copywriting classes at a, advertising school. It was kind of a rogue school. It wasn't one of the big ones like Miami Ad School, but it was a woman who had spent her entire career working in agencies, and she was very well connected, and it was in San Francisco. So we got to take classes from people like Goodby, Silverstein, and they're the people that did the Got Milk campaign,
Right.
so these big names. So I learned, I did not end up going into advertising. I really don't have any regrets about that because I discovered quickly it was not really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I did love the classes. I mean, each class was basically we'd be given an assignment to come up with 20 or so ads on a specific product, and we'd have to write the tagline, and you'd have to actually draw. It didn't matter if you could draw or not. You could do stick figures. You'd have to kind of draw the scenario that you had in mind. But I really love the process of writing taglines. And I
Mhm.
feel like now my version of doing that is writing hooks, whether it's a hook for a sales funnel, an email, because the first line of your email or the subject line could be your hook. There's a hook in everything. Just that one thing that grabs people's attention, stops them scrolling in their tracks, arouses curiosity, maybe digs into their pain point, whatever it is. But the what thing that they have in common with taglines, I feel like in traditional advertising, is that if it's a good one, you'll know it because it hits on a basic human truth. And that is what gets people to pay attention, to stop and pay attention because they feel seen and you're making like an emotional connection.
Right.
So I really like that whole part of copywriting because it's really about human psychology and, um, us all being kind of one community. I used to be a community manager, so I kind of feel like I have that approach to it as well to my
Mhm.
copywriting.
With emails though, you're writing to that one individual, and even though you
That's
might
true.
be writing that email and sending it out in bulk, to thousands of people on your list, that email has to center around that one individual. So when I get an
Yeah.
email and it says, "Hi, Rob," and then it goes into whatever they're trying to sell me, I kind of feel like, hey, this is directly directed towards me and not
Yeah.
just some, bulk email that has no personality,
Right.
you know. And you had mentioned hook. And some people in the non-copywriting field may not understand what hook is. Can you kind of give them an idea?
Of course. So a hook is like, it's usually the first thing you see, whatever the piece of content is, like in a sales funnel, if I don't know if your readers are familiar with funnels or not. So
Well,
should I
I'm
explain that?
familiar with funnels, and
Oh,
and
sorry.
when I tell people, people come to me and they say, "Hey, Rob, we want to create a funnel," and I just kind of look at them like, "Really?" And and I always tell people, you're one funnel away from a mass heart attack because some people just complicate their funnels so much, and
Yeah.
then something breaks, and then they have no idea how to fix it. So,
Right.
if you're going to create a funnel, keep it simple.
Yes, I would agree with that. Basically, it's a much more simple version of a website, and
Mhm.
you're supposed to. The point is to get people to come to it to do one thing and one thing only, which is buy whatever your offer is. So it's
Mhm.
without all the bells and whistles. But that is why that makes the copy that's in the funnel even more important than what you'd find on your average website, because it all has to be structured to motivate people to make a sale to buy. So the whole point is to sell your offer, and you're doing that with words. I mean, you have to have a great offer to begin with, but the words in your funnel are what are really going to convince somebody to buy or not, because
Yeah,
that's all you have. A funnel is just words,
right,
maybe a video, maybe a few images of the product or offer, and that's it, and a buy button.
right. And there's a difference between copywriting and advertising. And most of the times, the ads that you're seeing in papers, newspapers, and magazines, and even on the internet, they're filled with a lot of white space. They just show the product, and they might have a price. That's advertising.
Yeah.
Copywriting is getting you to expand on that emotional connection that you have with something. Like you said, that pain point. Um, and it's all done with words. There is very little pictures. So it makes you read. So hopefully you're somebody that likes to read, because I know sometimes you get something in the mail. Do I have to read this? And you just pitch it because you're tired. You don't want to deal with it. But
Yeah.
you know, with an email or even a direct response piece, you know, if you can hook them in, then they're going to read the next line and the next line and the next line, and they're going to take some type of action.
Right. Because you're either telling them a story that they're getting invested in, or you're speaking so directly to like the conversation that's already going on in their heads that
Mm.
they can't stop reading.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what we're all trying to do as copywriters.
And at the very beginning of this interview, I said that Heidi and I could be related, and so it goes back to our ancestors from Germany. There is an Ansbach, a town called Ansbach, but it's Ansbach instead of Ansbach with a P. And
Yeah.
and as they came over to the United States back in the 1700s and even 1800s, some of them decided to change their name. They modified it. I know the people on my side came over and they changed the B to a P because you know um, phonetics. They
Yeah.
wanted it to sound the way it's pronounced, and so somewhere along the line, we share a lineage, which is great, and that's the
Yeah.
stories that you want to share when you're doing copy, and I
Right.
think that when you're doing sales pitches for genealogy or other things that could connect you with somebody else, you need to have a story in there that gets them involved.
That's right.
you
Yeah.
know
And actually, my last name did used to be Anspach, not mine personally, but in my lineage, not that
Mhm.
far back. So that's how I know we probably have some crossover. But anyway, yeah, I mean, these kinds of stories are personal stories are
I'm the
what you want to
original
put in your
model.
copy.
This is the new model.
Yeah, you never went through the name change, so you're more like authentic.
Yeah,
You're a more
and I
authentic
mean
Anspach.
when I visited Anspach, Germany in
And we
December
both
27th.
visited the same town, by the way.
Yeah, and it's like nobody cared. Oh, you're just
Yeah.
another Anspach, whatever. You know,
Yeah, the
come on,
town's full of
man.
them.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, well, I'm not original now. Come on, that's terrible. And see, that's
Yeah,
the problem is that with copy, you want to be as original as you can. Um,
yeah,
Sometimes, we try to copy other people's copy, their copywriting or the way they do things, their style, and it
yeah.
and it, it doesn't always come across in the writing. So, be authentic to yourself when you're writing. Use your own slang, your own, colloquialism, your own, expressions that might happen in your town instead of trying to force something that someone else has written that might not jive with what you're doing.
That's true, but there's also a type of copywriting where you are actually trying to channel somebody else's voice.
Hmm.
Um, I've written copy for a lot of coaches, and no, they don't want people to know that they're not the one writing their social posts, writing their emails. So it needs to be somewhat seamless. So you need
Right.
to. That's
And,
a whole other skill, to
and
be
when
able
you
to.
do that, it's always good to maybe record them, interview
Yeah,
them like we're doing now,
yeah,
and kind of get them to, utter some of those things that they would say in a normal conversation, because that
exactly.
way then you can feel their voice. You can sense what they're doing. You can put that into the copy and make it feel real.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many skills that can go into making someone a good copywriter. I mean, some people like they have a sales background, they're really good at sales and they're able to translate that to how they write. I think for me, like I have sort of an intuitive ability to write to any demographic and like kind of embody the voice that they need to hear or embody a certain person's voice. And so they can't tell if they wrote it or I wrote it.
Right.
And I also just have a natural affinity for languages. So I think like I've learned a lot of foreign languages. They were very easy for me to learn. I really enjoyed it. Um, so there's something there too about like just an affinity for language,
Right.
hearing
So
how
when
people speak.
when you knew that you were good enough to write copy, is that when you started the copy cipher?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I'd always identified as a writer. I mean, at the very beginning of my career, I was just going to be a writer. I was going to be a journalist. I wanted to write books. I still haven't. So you definitely had me there with your 28 books.
I know.
Maybe
I'm
give me
sorry.
some pointers.
I in high school and we're going back, 35 years. I wanted to write books,
Yeah,
and I just didn't know how I was going to do it, and
yeah,
it took a long, long time before I wrote one. And then next, everybody was like, "Can you help me? Can you do this?" All right, well, in high school, I was like horrible with grammar.
Mhm.
But luckily we have autocorrect now, so that helps.
It does help a lot. There's a lot of tools you can use
Yeah.
to help.
So, if I
Yeah,
can write 28 books, then everybody else can do the same thing. So, get that book out. If you have a book inside you, get it out because it becomes your calling card and it
oh
helps
yeah,
boost your authority in what you're doing. So, you want to take the next step in becoming, the queen of copy or anybody listening, to become better at your niche and be well respected, the book's going to really help.
yeah. My problem is I don't know what my topic is yet.
Well,
Still figuring
here's
that out.
here's the tip. you
Yeah,
know and I do this with a lot of my clients is that a lot of the things that you've already written about, a lot of the questions that people come to you about becomes your book.
right.
We took a client that we helped him create a podcast, and so he created 52 episodes, and we took those 52 episodes, which represents 1 year of podcasting, one a week, and we transcribed them, became his book. you know and
Yeah,
so
that's really cool.
not everybody's going to listen to your podcast, but when you hand a book to them that kind of details a lot of the things that you're sharing anyway, now it's in print and people are going to say, wow, I got a business card from this guy and a book from this girl. I'm going to take this one because the book is more powerful. It contains more information that they can decipher and take on. So
Yeah,
you're creating all this copy And imagine if you could create that copy for a book that you've already written, and now people are buying that book, learning more about you, and then hiring you to do the work that your book was teaching them to do anyway, but they don't want to do it because it's easier just to hire you to do it.
Right. Plus, I have ghostwritten books for other people.
Right.
So it's like, why can't I do it for myself?
Yeah. So I mean, everything that you've already accomplished in your life up to this point can become a book. So I always tell
Yeah.
people, if you're going to create a book that embodies who you are up to that point, make the first 3 chapters about you, about your struggle, about the things that led up to who you are now, and then the remaining chapters focus on stories that encompass what you're doing and how you're helping clients now.
Yeah.
Now it becomes easy. There's a formula, and within 6 months you can have a book ready to go and start handing it out. And it's
I
people
guess
think,
for me, it's like, do I write a book about me and my life, or do I try to come up with a marketing or copywriting related book that's unique, that's not
I,
out there already?
I've
So,
my first book was all about social media, and I tried to keep it simple. It was 27 ways, or it's called Share, 27 ways to boost your social media experience.
I can see it right
And
behind you.
yeah, it's the blue one, and
Yeah.
you know, it just gave people 27 easy ways to make their social media work better for them. And
Right.
when and here was to the point where I was coming out of owning one business, transitioning into another, showing people how they could use social media. And this was 2013, so we're going back 7 years. And I immediately sold like 2,000 copies,
Wow.
and I was like, I was
Did you
amazed.
self-publish and sell on Amazon?
Well, here's the thing: is that I did self-publish. I did put it on Amazon. I had shopped it around. Everybody wanted me to pay them big amounts of money,
Hmm.
which I thought was outrageous. So I created my own publishing company, self-published, did it all myself, marketed it myself, and you know that's how the book got out there. And then
Awesome.
6 months later, I started working on another book. I partnered with somebody from Winnipeg, and we wrote a book all about search engine optimization. And we launched, and this book took 60 days from conception to becoming an international Amazon bestseller in 5 countries. Um, and after that, people were like, Rob, help us with our book. Do this, do that.
Yeah. So now
It
it's a
only
business for
takes
you.
one book to boost your authority out there, you know. And here's the thing is that if you're going to hire, not you, Heidi, but people listening, if you're going to hire a copywriter, do so with the understanding that not everything that they create for you is going to be a home run. They might be, get you on first base, second base, third base, um, and that's all going to help. So they might write an email, and then a sales letter, and then this, and then that. But it's all accumulative to that one point where people are looking at you going, wow, hit after hit after hit. And they think that you're getting these home runs, but you're getting, maybe only these base hits, but it all
Yeah,
adds up.
that's true. It's cumulative.
Yeah. So, you know, I think the stories going back to the 1970s where people would write these great big sales letters and put them in magazines, and they would make millions of dollars for their products. People are thinking, "Oh, is that going to be me? And if I'm going to pay her all this kind of money, will that happen to my business?" And they're scared because they don't want an influx of that kind of business.
Right.
And so a copywriter um, is going to take your information and kind of guide you in a way that it's for me. I don't want overnight success. I don't want people being slammed on me where I can't cope.
Yeah.
I want a gradual effect so that people are contacting me over time and letting me grow my business in stages, um, because that's the normal, the way of doing, for me, growth.
Yeah.
But maybe it's different for you. What do you When you encounter people, what's the process?
For starting to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, if I came to you and said, "Hey, I have this idea, or I want you to do this," what's your onboarding process?
Um, I mean, people usually come to me. I mean, speaking of the kind of cumulative effect, since I started in January 2019, I was just getting into ClickFunnels at the same time. I did the One Funnel Away challenge. I went through it a couple of times because I also started a Facebook group to coach people through it
Mhm.
after. That was what my Facebook group began with, and now it's morphing into being more about copywriting. But through those two things, like meeting all these people constantly coming into the ClickFunnels world, having them hear about me, you know, getting more and more copy projects. People started tagging me anytime there was a post or someone was asking for a copywriter. I still get tagged in the ClickFunnels official group, and I'm not that active there.
Mhm.
So I'm in a great spot now where most of my clients come to me, but the problem is I want a different type of client.
Mhm.
Worked with a lot of newbie entrepreneurs, and like I'm happy to I want to help those people, but at the same time, like I need to not be broke. So
Right.
the people starting out typically can't pay those big 8K, 10K payouts for a sales letter.
Right. And
Um,
and and I think that every entrepreneur, or even the listeners out there, even if you're not an entrepreneur, I need you to understand that you have to value what you do. And so
right.
if you're attracting a lot of what I call bottom feeders, or people that don't have a lot of money, um, your business isn't going to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you'll end up overworked and underpaid and
Yeah.
get burnt out, which has definitely happened to me in the course of the last 2 years. So that's why I joined Copy Accelerator Lite, which is how I found out about Rob. And because I know that being in that network will give me exposure to these higher paying jobs, and I'm going to become a better copywriter because I'm going to have access to Justin and Stefan's trainings, and just everybody's really supportive and wants to help each other in there. So
Yeah.
I just know that that's going to make a big difference. It already has. Like I applied for one of the jobs that Stefan announced. Were you at Copy Accelerator Live, the virtual conference?
No, to be honest, I hate virtual conferences. Uh,
Well,
I
I
prefer
understand.
going to the actual conference,
Yeah,
meeting people, and I've been to so many conferences that a lot of times the information shared from the stage is the same thing I just heard at another one. So a lot of times I mingle
sure.
out in the hallways. I meet
Yeah,
people. I make so many sales from the hallways,
yeah. That's where the magic happens. I
and
feel like.
there's none of that magic when it comes to the online conference. So you lose a lot of that dynamic. So they're selling these courses, and they're great. You're going to learn stuff, uh, you know. And then I know that we all as marketers need to continue to make money in this pandemic. But
Yeah,
for me, I go to these conferences not to hear people speak, because I don't care anymore, to be honest. I go to meet the people that are attending these conferences, so
yeah,
they can, we meet in the hallways, we have one-on-ones, we interact, and I learn more from them, and they learn more from me than. So yeah.
yeah. Maybe you hire them, they hire you. I mean, it just can lead to so many opportunities.
So
I'm
there is plenty of opportunities out there, and I think that
Yeah,
everybody needs to understand their dynamic, how they do business, and as you just experienced me saying that I don't like certain things. And this is the reason why. I need you guys to understand that each one of you has your own personality, and you do things different.
yeah. There's no right or wrong way. In other
Yeah.
words, just
So
personal preference.
right. But I do think that during any pandemic, national shutdown, depressed economy, too many entrepreneurs give up their marketing. They give up their marketing spend in hopes
Mhm.
that they can save their business. Well, I would rather sell my equipment, sell everything that I have to keep my marketing going, because that is the lifeblood of getting those people coming in and knowing more about you. And
Yeah,
so, if you guys are on the fence about it, talk to Heidi, talk to me, get those sales funnels out there and growing, because once this pandemic is over, you're going to be out of that gate running, and people are going to be coming towards you. But if you have
That's
no
right.
marketing, like all your competition is starting to not do marketing, when this pandemic is over, they're over too, because everybody
Yeah.
will have forgotten about them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part is staying visible. And if you're doing that all organically, that means you have to put out a lot of content and do a lot of things and maybe do joint ventures and find other ways to bring people to you that don't involve spending a lot of money on ads. But spending money on ads can be great too. I personally haven't done it yet in my business, but I want to.
Yeah, I mean,
Offers now, that I could drive people to.
right.
So
What are some of the things that you like to write about? Is it more products? Is it more services? Is it
yeah, it's that was the other benefit of just spending the most last 2 years kind of taking projects that came my way that I at least had some interest in and figuring out what I liked. So I ended up doing a lot in the health and supplement space, which is nice because being part of Copy Accelerator, I see what a booming business that is and how well it can pay. And so the fact that I have that experience and actually like doing it is great. Because even before I was a copywriter in my digital agency, we ended up with a lot of like health and wellness type clients. And, I have a personal interest in that. So I do like that niche. I also like the personal development niche because I feel like it's inspiring to write about. I always learn something when I do it. I like the mindset coaching stuff and all that sort of thing. Um, Also, let's see, what was I going to say? Personal development. Well, and just coaches in general. Like I've had a few coaches as clients where I'm writing kind of like their daily emails and social posts and maybe some landing pages. And I always have things to learn from those people as well. So if it's a niche that I can learn something from, I'm interested in, then I'm happy.
and your
That's
clients
not
are
always
happy
the case.
too,
Yeah.
because
If you're interested, you're gonna do a better job, right?
yeah. So how do people find you? Where do they go?
Um, I mean, I would say I almost 100% run my business on Facebook.
Okay.
So I gotta hope nothing happens to Facebook.
Yeah.
But I'm on Instagram. I just don't put as much effort into it. I still post on LinkedIn. I let people know what I'm doing if I have an offer or whatever. But mostly I'm just on Facebook all the time because I have a group that I post in. I'm in the process of changing it. I need a new name and all of that. I'm not before that I was posting like 3 to 5 times a day
Yeah.
and doing weekly live streams and bringing in experts to interview. And I kind of stopped all that because with the pandemic, my time was cut in half. My son was home all the time. Now he's back in school, but you have to cut things out sometimes and just only do things that move the needle, right?
Yeah.
Like to your point about don't stop marketing,
Right.
because that's what's going to make you money. I think I lost my train of thought.
And see, and the funny thing is that not to sidetrack this, but every copywriter I know has ADD.
Yes, I'm guilty for sure. Yeah, it's hard to stay focused on one thing. So even like it's kind of ironic because the job of a copywriter is to spend a lot of time writing, but it's hard for me to carve out these long blocks of time where I'm only writing.
Yeah.
Because most of the time my day looks like, okay, I'm creating content. I'm spending maybe an hour or two on that. I'm okay, I got to go post on Facebook. I got to check my messenger. I got to talk to clients. I got to book calls. I do podcast interviews, which I love doing because that's part of marketing. Um, I'm working on my own offer. I got to go build my own funnel. Like there's so many things. And then almost the copywriting itself is like an afterthought. I mean, it's not obviously because that's my bread and butter, but it can feel like that sometimes because I'm not actually spending most of my day writing. I'm spending a small focused block of it.
And if there's any copywriters or even entrepreneurs out there that coach others, that you spend 80% of your time helping others, but that
Yeah.
other 20% has to be helping yourself. And
Yes.
I know so many entrepreneurs that are in the coaching realm that forget to market themselves, and they say,
That's right.
"Well, I'm too busy helping others." Yeah, but what happens when that customer no longer needs you and you have no marketing in place?
Yep.
So it's always good to keep your marketing going, regardless of what business that you're in.
Yeah, like just figure out a system and stick with it. Whether it's like I'm going to post every single day in the morning and then post again at night, like they say on Facebook. That's a good way to go about it. I'm going to do a mix of posts. I'm going to make at least one offer a week.
Hmm.
I'm going to do one value post. I'm going to do one story post. I'm not always good at sticking to this myself, but when I do, find that I make more
Well,
money.
one of the things that I've done is I've automated a lot of the things that I do, so everything that I mean, I have almost 800 articles on my website, and so there's a lot of content, but not everybody is going to read all of those articles. So I've automated them. So
Yeah.
every day they're going out to my LinkedIn, my Facebook, to my Google My Business, everywhere that I can put them. And so people are still
Yeah.
seeing my content, but I'm not actually in front of the computer anymore, or not in front of social media.
Yeah.
And so by automating it saves me a lot of time, and it cuts down the amount of hours that I'm trying to, give to somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, repurpose your content for sure. I mean, take every old article you wrote that's still relevant. You could chop it up into pieces, take a quote from it, or just, promote it on different channels on a weekly basis.
Right.
That's a good reminder because I was doing that for a while, but I stopped. I'm like, I used to spend hours writing Medium articles on marketing and writing and ClickFunnels and all these things. And I'm glad I did that because I still get affiliate sales from some of those,
Yeah.
but I haven't written a new article in probably like 6 months.
Yeah. But make sure
So
that whether you have a website or a Medium page or wherever you're putting your content, it's always good to double up that content. Always make sure that you have your own blog, that
mhm.
your content is being shared to, whether it being shared somewhere else. Because if that other platform goes down for some other reason, then all that content you've ever put on there is gone. So it's
Yeah.
always good to have your, with me, I have it on my own website because I want people to come to my website. So,
Yeah. That's great. And that could be a great task for a virtual assistant
right.
if you're able to do that. Like have someone go look through all of my old content, move it over to one place, like create social posts out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that could keep somebody busy for months.
Right. And so recycling that content that you've already developed, that you've already written and published somewhere is great because, it cuts down the amount of time that you have to think of new stuff. Now, granted, you're
Yeah.
always have to gonna think of new stuff, but you won't have to do it as often. And you always have to market. So if you can't afford, you know, a lot of money for some reason to hire somebody, then recycle that content and get it working for you. At least then you have some marketing out there.
Yeah. And like Rob says, automate it.
Yeah.
Just write a bunch of posts one time and put them in Buffer or some tool like that, and it'll do the rest for you.
So when people go to your copycipher.co website, what can they expect to get?
Well, so that's my main copywriting site, but it's a little misleading because it's not a portfolio site. It's
Okay.
the first funnel I actually created, which was for a high ticket offer, which is like a fully done for you launch copy package. So
Hmm.
anyone who's about to launch a coaching program or a course or something kind of big, there's a lot of copy you need for that. There's the funnel copy, there's all the email follow up, there's all the social posts, all the marketing copy. So that was my idea is I'll do all of that for somebody. um, but when I launched that funnel, I did not really have an audience. I was pretty new to the entrepreneurial space and the ClickFunnels world. So I never got anyone to go through that funnel and actually buy the service from me.
And
So
see,
I
I love
still
that.
need,
I love the honesty because here's the
yeah,
thing: is that even copywriters, um, sometimes don't implement their own stuff.
yeah,
And I
that's
want
true.
people to understand that is, everything that you do is not going to be a home run. It's not going to even get you on base.
Yeah,
We talked about this before, but it's good to look back on what you're doing to improve it for your client, or to improve it for yourself, or not every funnel is going to work.
yeah,
But if you saw what you did in the past and say, okay, this is why I failed, this is how I'm going to build it better, Now you have
Yeah,
something that you can, that it's going to consistently work for you.
that's right. Because about 5 months later, I just put out some simpler offers and I did start making money from funnels.
Yeah.
So the first one was a master class that I launched in my Facebook group, made probably 500 or 600 from that. It was like a $47 class. It's not a huge number, but like to me, that was a breakthrough because I finally made money from a dang funnel.
Yeah.
And then I launched a bigger offer that still sells called Offer Copy Remix. And that's where I just rewrite existing funnel copy that's not converting, that's not making sales. Because a lot of times people just want to get their offer out. They write the copy themselves. They don't really know what they're doing. They know it could be better. And so that's kind of been a good seller for entrepreneurs who maybe can't afford to hire someone to write it all from scratch.
And see, this is why I brought Heidi on, because you got the real, you got the raw, you got the honesty. And not every copywriter is going to tell you that. Not every
Yeah.
copywriter is going to tell you that they failed on their first thing. But what they're going to tell you is that, they've had successes, they've had failures. But
Yeah.
with Heidi, you're going to see, hey, this was the transition. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. And this is what now she's doing because of what didn't work. And now she's making money at it. And that to me is what a superhero is all about.
Well, awesome. Never been called a superhero before, but I'll take it.
Well, that's what being on e-heroes is all about, is because
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneurial hero. You're sharing your superpowers with somebody else, and it's not always going to be about bullets flying off your chest, or laser beams or whatever. It's sometimes it's just the superpower that somebody sees that you've done, and because of the changes that you had to make yourself super.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because now that I'm getting more into the copywriter community and working with other copywriters and seeing what's making them successful, I'm kind of realizing where I fit in. Like I didn't start out going hard and studying everything I could find about copywriting. I just jumped in. What I
Hmm.
was really studying was like funnels and how to
Right.
build a funnel, how they work, how to incorporate that into my own business. So I have launched quite a few offers. I'm an offer owner. They're all related to my copywriting services, but still I have several offers that people can come buy from me at any time. And I'm finding that a lot of the people like in Copy Accelerator, they may be further along than me as a copywriter. They're charging higher rates, but they want to be offer owners. They're like, I've never launched anything. So that's kind of like I'm coming from the opposite end. And now
Yeah.
I'm sort of trying to master copywriting. I'm kind of refocusing on one thing instead of chasing shiny objects.
Right.
That's another thing that entrepreneurs tend to do. And I definitely was guilty of that. And like the natural tendency toward ADD made it even worse. But even that, you know what? I don't regret it because I went down a few rabbit holes with affiliate marketing and trying to grow and monetize Facebook groups. And those are now assets that I have. Like I didn't go all the way with those, but like I make at least an extra 500 a month from affiliate sales. And
Hmm.
that's definitely something that helps me,
Right.
at least covers the cost of all the software I'm paying for.
Yeah, we all have uh, tendency to look at shiny objects a little differently. I've kind of
Yeah.
got my blinders up, so I don't see them as much as other people. But I can tell
Yeah.
that they're out there, and I can tell all the people that were buying them because they're showing out lots of money and they're not recouping it. So you know,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up because I want people to understand that the shiny objects don't always make you money. Oh, they make somebody else money, but they don't always make you money. So kind of look at them with a grain of salt and say, is this really going to be beneficial?
Yeah. Well, plus it might just end up distracting you from the main thing you should be focusing on. I mean,
Right.
even Russell Brunson says focus is, do one thing or follow one thing until success.
Yeah.
So if you keep jumping around, you're just not going to get that far with anything that you're doing. So that's why I kind of like stopped doing a lot of things I was doing. And now I'm just focusing on copywriting and
Yeah.
I'm trying to master my craft and start charging more money and get really good at it. And then maybe I'll develop my own methodology and that'll become my book on copywriting.
That's right. So, yeah, and you hit it square in the head, is that you have to focus on one thing. Be the best at that one thing. So
Yeah. I
If
mean, I
you're
still have to stop myself from doing things. Like, I would love to start a podcast. I've had an idea in the back of my head for a while. I would love to do more with YouTube videos, but it's like, where am I going to find the time? Like, I need to just do copywriting for now.
yeah, I started this podcast 2 years ago, and I thought, oh, I'm going to record, a couple episodes, and now I think this is episode, 104, and it just it keeps going, it keeps growing, and people are like, make more. And I'm like, okay. So
Yeah. Do you
I
do one
enjoy
a
it. I
week?
enjoy learning more about people, and some of the people I've interviewed have become my clients, or I've referred them to clients, and so
Yeah.
there's always a benefit to podcasting.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, for all the listeners, please, if you need copywriting help, visit Heidi. She's got multiple websites. Quick, throw out the one that you want them to go to.
Offercopyremix.com.
Okay, and I'll put
That's
that
if
one
you,
down
yeah.
below. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Adios.